Hello, my people, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to what is now part 3 of my alternative NaNoWriMo challenge, where I go from blank to book. Now, all that means is that instead of doing the 50,000 word challenge, I will be working strictly on my first draft. I have never completed a first draft before in my life, so I thought, why not use this pivotal month for writers everywhere to get her done. For those of you who have been following along this little first series of mine, you know that I had 6 sections to complete as of last Saturday, and those were gathering the team, executing the plan, the high tower surprise, dig deep down, execution of new plan, and final image. And if you're new here, I do suggest going back to look at parts 1 and 2 so you can catch up and see where I am right now. And also, if you guys want to hear more about my main characters and how I came up with them, what challenges I'm facing with them, definitely check out parts 1 and 2 of my alternative NaNoWriMo challenge. Now, without further ado, we're going to get into it. And I'm going to talk to you guys about some important insights that I've learned this week. It's been quite the dramatic week. And then, as always, at the end of my discussing my life with you, we're going to tally up what I actually accomplished at the end of the video. So I started off this week on a real high. I don't know if you guys saw part 2, but I had achieved a lot last week. I had gotten through 4 sections of my story structure, and I had gotten to know my characters a little bit better, getting deeper with them and really getting to do more development so that way they felt more real, more tangible. And I was feeling pretty good about myself. So this week I was like, yeah, absolutely, I can get this done. This is 3 sections that I need this week. I did 4 last week. I can absolutely make this happen. And lo and behold, what do I come across this week? My very first, well, no, not my first, but the biggest plot hole I have ever seen in my life. Now, this plot hole was so ginormous that there was no way I could continue on with my schedule for this week and not address the plot hole. So that had hit the brakes pretty hard. I had to really go back and reconnect some dots and try to make it make sense. And I know that this is the first draft phase, and of course we're gonna get more detailed and everything in the editing phase, but I couldn't very well get past it and just leave this gaping hole in my story, because I would just be shooting myself in the foot for my editing phase. And also, to provide a little bit of clarification without going too deep into my story, I am now I'm towards the end of my story. So that's all of the hoopla, a lot of external conflict going on. And I was really rocking and rolling because, it's all the exciting battles and powers coming out and so many things. And it was this plot hole really pulled the plug on how this battle is even allowed to happen. It was that big. It made no sense how I was going to get from one point to the other without falling down this gaping hole. Now, as we get deeper in this wonderful community of mine over here at Flipping the Page, you guys will get to know me a lot better, and you will see that I am a spiraler, in case you haven't noticed already, because I'm sure there have been small things popping up in my other videos, but I spiral. And at this point, that's kind of what happened. Actually, my brain kind of split off in 2. So I had the side that I made this schedule for myself from making this book all the way to publishing. I know it needs to be done. I know that I can't just sit on it and just let this plot hole just exist and not touch this book ever again. So that part kept pushing forward. And then the other side was like, what am I even doing? At that point, everything started to be questioned that shouldn't be questioned. Basically, I just started to get overwhelmed, and I didn't know if any of this was worth it. The entire writing journey, my story, this YouTube channel, even the efforts I'm making on my Instagram and my TikTok, go follow those if you guys don't already. But I was like, why am I putting myself through so much, and this isn't going to work, and my story isn't going to be good? And it was just so much coming down on me at once. It was just an avalanche of negative thought after negative thought just piling up on me, as I still have half of my brain pushing forward, trying to make it make sense and find a way through this. The other part was like, what is the point to me doing any of this? And making a book is hard enough, selling it's going to be even harder. I'm not going to get anywhere with this. It was just so much negativity swirling through my head all at the same time. So what helped to pull me out of this day's worth of insanity going through my head was a video that I came across on Instagram, and it was Tabitha Brown. I love Tabitha Brown. And she was talking about how back when she was struggling in her down and out days, she and her husband sat down and they wrote down their list of goals for themselves. And it was the most outrageous, wildest of dreams that she wrote down. And she was just trusting that God was going to make it happen for her. And she wasn't going to stress about the semantics, and it was just going to happen. And I don't know about you guys out there. I'm a spiritual person, so I just draw a lot of my strength from faith and trust and all those things, and whatever you guys want to call it, God, universe, whatever, that's what I hold on to. So I was like, I've never written down my goals before. Not outside of like a New Year's resolution, thinking about what you're going to do for that year. I've never really sat down to write down, what do I really want out of my life for, like 5 years, 10 years, or anything like that. What are the most outrageous dreams that I can think of for myself that I really want to happen? So I sat down and I made my list. And of course, this book was on there. Not just this book, but my writing career as a whole was on there. And I wanted to be an author, and not just an author, but a best-selling author. And you can't be a best-selling author if you have not written a single thing. So that kind of snaps me out of it. And, looking at my goals physically written out, and, I'm like, I have work to do and I need to get there. So yeah, kind of pulled me out of my own little miserable spiral. Now, through all that, did I actually end up fixing the plot hole that contributed to my little crisis in the first place? Kind of. I think so. Kind of. So the dots are connected right now. Everything makes sense. But of course, like the rest of this first draft, it's just going to need a lot of polishing as I go through all of my editing phases. All right. And as promised, it's been quite the dramatic week. Maybe introspective would be a better word. It's been quite the introspective week. But now, thank you guys so much for making it to the end of the video. I'm sure you're wondering, with all of that drama going on, how much has she actually accomplished? Drum roll, please. I completed 2 of the 3 sections that I needed done this week. That's right, guys. It's not 100%. And you know what? I'm not even going to beat myself up over not hitting 100% of my goals this week, because I had a spectacular week. Last week I did so much. I went back and got deeper with my characters and learned them a lot more. And this week I felt pretty inspired. I was digging deeper into myself, the way that I was with my characters the previous week. So even though I didn't hit my goals on paper per se, I feel like I went above and beyond in certain other incalculable areas. I also realized this week that I initially miscalculated how much work I had to do each week. So I accidentally set it up where I would be done, or I should be done with my first draft a week ahead of schedule. So I've given myself some room without even realizing it. So my final thoughts on the matter this week is simply do what you want to do. Do what makes you happy. Do what brings you joy. And don't let that little nugget of quote unquote logic get in the way of what brings you joy. I feel like I have such a bad habit of letting that voice just run rampant sometimes, and maybe that's part of the overthinking or anxiety, I'm not sure, but that voice can really drag you down if you allow it. And I think that that is the voice that has been keeping me back from fully pursuing my writing dreams this entire time. And I'm going full on. I am stepping out of my comfort zone. This YouTube channel is an example of me stepping out of my comfort zone, because I would have never, ever, ever in my life thought that at the beginning of this year, I would be ending this year with a YouTube channel where I'm actually filming myself, putting myself in front of people, building a community, which thank you guys for being a part of this community, but building a community. And it's been a fun ride, and it's only been a month. So don't let that voice snatch away your creativity and the joy that you get from it. Whether it makes sense in the moment or not, it's going to make sense at some point, and you just need to do what you're called to do and honor that calling that has been put on your heart. Literally almost every single thing in this modern life has been considered impossible before. We're basically living in magical times. If you were to time travel somebody from like 1,000 years ago to today, this would be some kind of magical realm to them. This was all impossible to somebody at some point until somebody made a reality that made another reality that made another reality. So yeah, these ramblings could very well be a symptom of my growing comfort in front of the camera. Or it could just be that somebody out there really needed to hear this. But believe in yourself and put aside all of the, again, quote unquote logic, and really just step into what brings you joy. That is what I've learned from this week. That is the message to get from part 3 of From Blank to Book. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to yet another video and bearing through these little ramblings of mine. You have no idea how much each view, each like, and each comment really means to me. This has been a lot. It's been a lot putting myself out there and being in front of the camera rather than behind the scenes somewhere, just doing something where no one can really pay attention to me. So it truly means a lot to me, and thank you so much. And as you guys get to know me more, you will see that I am highly emotional, highly sentimental. So don't be shocked if one day I might just ramble myself into happy tears. But thanks so much for bearing with me, and tune in next week to see if I actually finish these last 4 sections, like the last 4 sections for part 4, or if I'm going to need that little extra week of spare time that I accidentally gave myself. Let's find out together. Tune in next time to Flipping the Page with Antonia Carter.